All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming by this week. We're having a great time here. We're painting a beautiful seascape scene. The ocean, the beautiful sounds of the ocean, the crashing waves, figures. We're doing some figures on the beach here and some lawn chairs. This is like a beautiful vacation type painting you might want to do. Great subject matter. It's exciting. We're at that time of the year now where people are getting out. We're going out to the beaches, to the ocean. We're having a beautiful time. Let's zoom in here just a little bit on our subject. You can paint right from this here. Okay, so that's our scene for the most part. You can also pause. Let me see if I can do this. Let me zoom in on the figures. So if you just want to do some figures here. There you go. You can practice on some figures and some lawn chairs along the beach. There you go. Now if you want to zoom back, you can do the whole scene like this. And you get the full scene like it is. This is how we originally painted it in our video here. So there you go. And we'll be back in just a second. We'll start drawing and painting this beautiful, gorgeous scene along the beach. Okay, we're getting started again here. So we're actually, we saw the finished painting right at the beginning here on this video. I hope you'll work from that. This way you can kind of match all your colors from your palette. So your paints, you can just take if you're using my colors, I know many of you that follow me on a regular basis, you'll use the same colors I do. I have all the colors on my other videos on my channel. If you just type in Chris Petri palette or Chris Petri colors, you'll see about 10 or 15 videos that I've done on palettes and colors. So I cover all that in a lot of detail on YouTube already. So if you wanted to figure out exactly what colors I'm using, that's fine. Or if you just want to use your own palette, you'll kind of see I have my warm colors on the left and my cooler colors on the right, the blues and the greens over here, and the reds and the yellows, the earth colors on the left side. But the main thing is, if you're painting from a finished watercolor painting, you're much more likely to get the same look because you're able to match the colors from your palette to the painting itself. Whereas if you're working from a photograph, or if you're working from a phone, or even in plein air, sometimes it can be a little more difficult to figure out what colors you're going to use. But if you're already looking at a watercolor painting, you're already pretty much the battle's already won there. You have the colors and you can kind of just match them real easy. So just a tidbit of information there if you like. So let's keep moving on here. So the first thing we'll do, we're going to do a beautiful beach scene, of course, and some figures in some lawn chairs, relaxing on the beach. Lots of beautiful ocean colors, the blues, the greens, and we'll have a fun time of it. The first thing we'll do is let's get the figures in on the lawn chairs, and we'll kind of figure out where we're going to put everything in the rectangle in our painting area here. So we'll just say that we're going to very lightly, let's make the horizon line in the ocean about halfway. So we can put here ocean. So about halfway on our paper, the ocean. I think it's a little under halfway, so you might go up just about a halfway, not quite. And then that'll be our ocean horizon line here. So I'll just go across with the real light level line. If you want, you can do a ruler. So maybe we'll use a ruler if we want. If you want to keep your line really perfectly straight, just so you have a reference point that it's perfectly straight, you just put your ruler on the paper and go across with a nice level line like that. And it'll get a little bit, it'll vary, you'll have some you'll have some different things along this ocean horizon line here. You know, we'll have some mountains over here on the left. So I'll just lightly sketch in a few mountain shapes here, going down into the ocean like that. And then we'll leave the rest open, so this will all be open ocean area here. A little bit of mountains here. And then we'll have the beach here, so maybe we'll have the beach coming along on an angle like this across, like so. So we're going to kind of have that angle across like this for our beach, and then of course our level horizon line for the ocean. And we'll have more of a simple sky, but let's just make a couple. Maybe we'll make some cloud shapes, happy cloud shapes here, just with very light pencil lines. You might want to just very gently put on some very light pencil marks to get in some cloud formations, but you don't want to be too definite with your clouds and sky washes, because I find if you have a lot of detail in your foreground and your middle distance with your mountains, let's say, and your figures here on the beach and some rocks and maybe a tree, maybe we'll put in a palm tree here, maybe not, we'll see. We're going to kind of create as we go. We'll do some improv here. So let's see here. Okay, so let's now I've done a very preliminary sketch of how I want everything to be. Then I will also do a very light preliminary sketch of my two figures in lawn chairs, and we'll have them about here. So we'll say generally we're going to have our figures not quite center. Let's make them a little off center. So if this is the center of the page here, you can even put a mark. Again, hash marks are great. Center, so this is center of your rectangle, or center of your painting, your paper, the center of your composition here, center mark, going from left to right, right to left, center. And we're going to take our figures in our lawn chairs on the beach here, we're going to make them a little bit left of center, so, you know, we'll take just left of center here. And then I think after that we're pretty good. We aren't going to do a ton of hash marks on this painting. We're just using a couple reference points. And then here I'll start with my left figure here. And again, please work from my sketches, work from my finished painting. Sometimes I take things off the internet. I don't know if they're copyrighted, so I could get into a problem with copyright issues if I take something from someone else's work. Someone might have a photograph online and it's got a copyright, and then if I copy the same thing, they might say I'm trying to take away from their work, so I don't want to do that. So that's why I try to, you know, safeguard myself, and if you paint from my finished paintings, you know it's going to be okay. For me and for you too, but really for me, I'll get in more trouble. So we're going to do our chair here. And we're going to do the chair. And I'm lightly sketching it first. Let's do a preliminary sketch. Okay. And here we are. I'm doing some of the and we have our person here. They're sitting here having a wonderful time at the beach, just chilling out. Okay, I hope you can see that. I'll go over with a darker darker pencil line once we finish this preliminary sketch here. And then the next chair is going to start right about here. About the same height. Come across. And these chairs seem to be the same. Size. The chairs are the same size. And then we have and there we go. We're going to do a little bit of and what I'm doing is just lining things up. I'm looking across at my photograph, so a lot of times I'll use my pencil and I'll put it up against the photograph or a screen if I have a laptop screen or a phone or a laptop screen or a picture, photograph, whatever it is, or a book I'm working from. I just use my pencil to line up angles. So I'll take my pencil and hold it up to the page or the photograph, whatever, kind of say, okay, well that's about there, bring it down to here, and then, you know, kind of make your marks. So you use your pencil. This is a great little tidbit of information here. Always try to use your pencil or your pen if you're drawing with pens or whatever, or pencils. You know, use your pencil as a measuring tool. So you'll use it to see if you have straight angles. You might look at something, hold up your pencil and say, oh, okay, it's at an angle like this. So you hold it out in front of you and say, that's the angle I'm looking at out in front of me, and then you just transfer that same angle right down to the page. So it's just like, you know, keeping that pencil at the same angle up, down to the page, and you get your angle. If you need an angle, or if you want to check if it's straight, you'll say, oh, well, that's straight, and then you just bring it right down to your page and go, okay, that's straight there. And you can line stuff up and say, oh, okay, well, the figure here, the head is straight with the legs underneath here. So I'm doing a leg under here and a leg over here. Where is this leg on the bottom of the chair? It's straight plumb with the back of the ball cap here that this gentleman is wearing. And I just do that and say, okay, there it is. The leg's right plumb underneath. And then you just do that. You work through your painting, and then I look over here and say, okay, where is this person's legs compared to their head in this picture, in this photograph I'm looking at? And I say, all right, I'm looking up and I'm saying, all right, there we go. Their left leg is a little bit about this far away from the head area. And I come down here and say, there it is. There's the leg area. That's the leg over here, and foot over here. And we're not going to make a big production of this here. We're just going to show a little bit of flesh and a little bit of leg under here, under the chair. And then the other is just a little bit. There's the arm of the chair here, and the other leg of this person here is over here. So we just kind of get our general subject matter and things placed using our pencil as a guide to get our plumb lines, how things are straight, up and down, angles, so forth, so you can kind of see that. And I think this pencil drawing does look good. It looks like you can see it. I'm looking at my camera, and I believe you can see everything pretty nicely here. So that's good. So both figures in our lawn chairs chilling out at the beach here, having a wonderful time. Just, you know, we're out in the tropics here, let's say, somewhere beautiful, and you make up your own story. Maybe you're there, you're having a nice iced tea along the beach, having a great time, or an adult beverage, and you have the gorgeous sky and ocean. Let's have fun with this. Let's take a break, though. We've done a lot of drawing right here. We don't want to continue on too much more. We might start fatiguing. So the one thing I can do is make this lawn chair a little more accurate now, and this one as well. And let's also note where the sunlight's coming from. The sunlight is sunlight's generally coming from the left of this picture going this way. I'm looking at my photograph that I'm referencing, and that's where the light is in the photograph. So, and I have my cell phone actually in front of me, and I'm drawing from my cell phone. But this is what you want to work from, my finished painting. Try to do it that way. And then we're going to have oodles of fun here. This is looking good so far. Let's do some shadows. Let's look at the shadow here. Okay, the shadows are, so the light is pretty high in the sky. Again, we mentioned that when the sunlight or the sun, natural light, is high in the sky, let's say midday, around noontime, you're going to have minimal shadows. So if the sunlight's way high up in the sky, above, overhead, a little bit to the left, you're going to have minimal shadows. And we do have minimal shadows here. I'm looking at this, and the shadows are very minimal, like so. You'll see that when we start painting. Whereas if you have early in the morning or late in the evening, your shadows will be larger and longer because the sunlight's coming from the side and it casts and throws a shadow quite long. But if you're midday, noontime or so, late morning, early afternoon, midday, your shadows will be minimal. They'll be small underneath your objects. Just a good little thing to note. I always try to throw in a couple little tidbits here and there. And hey, also wanted to mention, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. There's a subscribe button right down here. Over here on the right-hand side, that little red button, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you will. You'll be alerted each time a new video comes out. We're making videos every week here on my channel, so we're having fun here. We're doing everything watercolors, so join along with us. Come on. If you don't like the particular subject we're doing one week, you wait till the next week. We might be doing something you like a lot more, maybe flowers, maybe you're not into beaches or seascapes, things like that, no problem. But hey, if you watch this, though, you learn a lot of information anyway. A lot of this information we've done so far is things that might relate to seascapes, but you know, beach scenes and tropical scenes, but it also relates to just overall any type of watercolor painting. We're talking about drawing skills, how to line things up with our pencil, all these little interesting tidbits of information you're going to pick up here on the channel. So even if you don't, let's say, like the subject matter of what I'm painting, you'll still learn a lot of different information about watercolor and art and drawing and painting as we go. So maybe you just watch this time if you don't really like this type of scene, and then you paint the next one that we might do that you like. So it's always good to follow along here each week as we go. You're going to learn lots of information. You'll be better. Your paintings will look better. You'll be happier. Once your paintings start looking really good, you're going to be excited, and you'll keep painting, and you'll be passionate about your watercolors. So all right, let's go. Let's take a break first, though, and then we'll come right back and we'll start painting this beautiful scene here, tropical ocean and figures on a beach. Okay, we're picking back up again. Welcome. All right, we took a break. Take breaks. Take lots of breaks when you're doing your watercolors, you're drawing, you're painting. You know, you draw a little bit, you stop, you take a break, 10 minutes, continue drawing a little bit, take another break. And then, you know, as you're going through, you'll see your breaks are going to give you a little bit of time to relax a little bit, refresh. You'll come back, you'll look at things you might decide, taking a second look at your drawing or your painting, that you might want to change something, or you think you could maybe adjust or redo something a little bit, or you might make some decisions a little differently, whereas if you just keep going and you don't take breaks, you're just going to tend to keep going and you won't think about perhaps some options you have with your watercolors. So please always remember, does that make sense? You want to have options with your drawing and painting and watercolors. You want to always have options, and that way the options happen is if you take those breaks, you can kind of think about your painting, your drawing, however you're working out things as you go. You can think about the different options. Oh, I can make this more of a lighter color sky or a darker color sky, or maybe I'll make this mountain in the distance a little cooler looking and a little more lighter, or maybe I'll make it darker. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? When you take a break and you come back and you stop and then come back and look at your painting, you can look at some things first before you start going back in and doing more painting and drawing and so forth. So let's keep that in mind. That's really a good thing. I hope you'll do that, please. I hope you'll practice that method of taking breaks as you go. So we did our pencil drawing. First we did our preliminary sketch to lay everything out. We got some hash marks on our tape. We always tape around our watercolor papers so that we have a nice border as well, and we also have a place to put our hash marks. And now we're getting right back into we did the contour drawing straight away. We didn't do an approximate sketch. I was drawing right from the photograph across from me, and I felt confident I could just go right in there and do my figures in these lawn chairs without too much worry. If you have to do this lightly first and then go over it a second time with your drawing, that's fine too. It's up to you. Now we're ready to start painting, and I'm saying, okay, I see that there is the chairs are a grayish hue. Grays are always beautiful. I enjoy that so much. So I'm going to take some ivory black and some Payne's gray, add in a little bit of burnt umber, add in a little bit of burnt sienna, add in a little bit of cobalt blue, cerulean blue, just to get a little bit of a variation there. As you can see, I made some variations here. So ivory black, Payne's gray, then I went in with some burnt umber, burnt sienna next to that. Then we went in with some cobalt blue and some cerulean blue. So this way we get a nice variation of color. And we can even add more, but let's stick with these 6 colors. So I'm going to start up here. I'm noticing I'm using a number 5 Da Vinci travel brush. I like these. They're really light. They're really light feeling. Plastic handles. They screw together. You can bring these on trips out in the field if you're going to go out and do some painting around the neighborhood, or if you're on vacation or you're traveling, visiting friends or family. You can just put these together, you cover them up, and then you can open them up, and great brushes. I like these a lot. So here you can see, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get that dark there. And there is, what I do is I rinse my brush, and then I usually tap my brush on my apron, or you could also tap your brush on a piece of tissue to take off some of the water, and then you go in and get your paint. So that's a little lighter there. A little bit cooler here. A little darker under here, and I can see this is, I'm trying to make this a little darker. Burnt umber, Payne's gray, and ivory black. I see some of these legs of the chair, these metal legs of the chair, so I'll try to leave some white paper there. Right there you can see I left a little bit of white paper to pretend that There's some light kind of going along on that area. And a little bit of raw umber too. You can add some raw umber. Mix up lots of colors. Have fun with this. If you need to lift up for a light, you can lift up a light like that. And don't always feel you have to do everything exactly like you see it as you're painting. You can let things happen as they go. I'm a person, I don't want to be so rigid and that everything has to be exact. No. And then we're going to do some flesh colors. Cadmium red, cadmium yellow, a little bit of burnt sienna, just some flesh color. Over here, this is the person's elbow. We show a little bit of that elbow over there. And I'm going to do some detailing here, so let's... These are the chair supports, the metal chair supports here, the legs of the chair, and I want to put those in very loosely. And there's an arm of the chair over here. And there's another. And that's good. I don't want to do too many of these. Try to minimize these a little bit if you can. A little bit of purple here. Let's do some shadowing colors. Purple and a little bit of cobalt blue maybe. A little bit of raw sienna too. So we mix it up a little, warm and cool. And we'll just do a little shadowing under there. And I'll add a little bit of the purple here into my lawn chair, just a little bit of purple. And let's keep moving along here. Burnt umber mixed in with a little of the black. Let's get the hair here. There's some sunglasses. Let me do that. And I'll make the hair lighter up above here. So I make the hair darker here. A little bit of flesh tone for the face. Just a tiny bit. And there's mostly hair and sunglasses here, not much. I think that's good. That just gives us enough information that we know there's a person with sunglasses here. Let's put in some flesh tones. Some flesh tones under here. A little bit of burnt sienna, darker there, a little lighter. As we go down here, a little lighter there. And again, don't feel like you have to do every detail. Just get some things in there, some colors and some shapes, and there's a little bit of and again, let's get our colors out. We have ivory black, Payne's gray, burnt umber, burnt sienna, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, purple. So far, that's our colors. We might just stick with these colors throughout the whole painting. It might really look great. We might add in some Viridian green. So let me do that. Let me start adding in some Viridian because I'm already thinking of the ocean colors. So that's the thing, as you paint, you'll always remember, try to keep your color selection in your mind of what you're going to want to use throughout the whole painting, and then try to use those colors throughout your painting so that you don't lose track. And the best thing is to try to have all your colors moving around in your painting, the same colors. That looks the best. And then we're going to do more black. Payne's gray, ivory black, burnt umber. We're doing some darks. And we have a little bit lighter over here where the sun is. The sun's coming this way. The sunlight is across this way, so the darks are going to be on the right side. Good thing to keep in mind as you go. And then we have here, try to keep some of the metal frames of the chair in mind as you go across. And again, you'll see I'm trying to mix in a lot of colors as I go. And then our darkest darks are and you can see I put the metal legs of the chair. I try to do that carefully. Purple and blue for the shadows over here. Try to mix in your shadows here as you go. Looks good so far. Let's see here, a little more flesh tones for the gentleman here. He's having a nice beverage along the beach here on the sand. And so I'll do some flesh colors too on the face. He's turning his head quite a bit here to the right, so we are seeing more flesh on his face. Over here, this figure is more, I'm going to try to maybe change that a little bit there. There we go. And he's wearing a white hat with some shadow on it. So we'll put some shadow on the hat, but not too much. And let's do some raw umber for the hair and a little bit of black, a little dark here. Just like that. It seems the less we fuss over things, the better they look. So you're just seeing I'm doing a little. And I think that looks fine. I might just leave the, details. There's always details you can work on, and you can work on details later. You can say, let me get the main idea of what we have. So here I'm just and that should be plenty. So now we have our figures in. We can let me make a little cap on the top of this. That I can do later. Always remember, if you want to do really fine details, let those go till later. I think you'll find that you'll always you might be better off doing details later. So I think we've done plenty. Let's take another break. Again, I like to take breaks a lot. Take breaks as you go. And sometimes a little bit less is more if you let this go and just that to me is fine. Looks good. So now we're going to come back. Once we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to start doing our ocean, our beach, our sky. These figures are pretty much good. They're complete. I might just want to add one more thing here. Let me add this. This might be a little beach leather bag or something, for some art supplies. Maybe he's actually painting this figure here. Who knows? We make up our own stories as we go. And then over here is the shadow side. We'll make some blue color here. Like that. Maybe some French ultramarine blue, that little darker dark in there. But that would be in the sunlight, so let's lift that up. You can always lift things up here and there. There we go. So always a little bit of Viridian green, add some Viridian green around. There we go, Viridian green, add some Viridian green here and there. There we go. A little bit of sunlight on the hat, the ball cap here. A little bit of shadowing too. A little bit of shadow on the ball cap over here on the left side. And that looks pretty good. And if you ever notice you have something that doesn't look exactly perfect, you don't have to worry. Like, I think the ball cap could look a little better. I think I made the ball cap might be a little more turned this way a little bit. That looks better. There we go. So don't be afraid to change a little detail or so, something here and there as you go. All right, we are going to do just one more thing here. And some shadowing under here. With some darker darks there, like that. There we go. Okay, time for a break. We'll come back. We'll get right into the ocean, the sand, the sky. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're starting back up again. We're finished with our figures for the most part. I think everything is really good here. We have shadows in, we have the figures in, the lawn chairs. We have everything pretty much looking really solid here, really looking good. Now, the key is here, it's more of a fun time now. The figures were the challenging part. So if you have a challenge with figures and things like that, no worries. You could always practice the figures here on some separate watercolor paper, and you do it maybe 2 or 3 times. Maybe one figure at a time, just maybe do the left figure, then the right figure, separately on a piece of watercolor paper, draw it, paint it, match it to what I'm doing here. And then if you do that maybe 2 or 3 times, if you're having a challenge with that, you do it 2 or 3 times, you'll have it. It'll be pretty solid, pretty good, you'll be pretty confident with it. Then you can add in the full painting, where you'll do another painting, full sheet of paper here, like, you know, this is like an 8 by or 7 by 14, 8 by 16, something like that. And then you can do everything. You can do the figures. You've done it a few times, because that's the challenging part here, is the figures and the lawn chairs. That takes a little more patience. You got to work at it. You got to take breaks. You can see we've already been working a half an hour or more just on these 2 figures. So it does take a little bit of time to get these carefully drawn and painted figures in. Not easy. But if you take your time, do it a few times first on separate watercolor paper, and then if you want to do this full painting, unless you just want to go for it and you think you can nail it down in the first try, that's good too. It depends on your skill level. That's all it is the more you're painting and drawing, you know, the easier it is to do these type paintings. But if you have a little bit of challenge, or you have a problem with maybe doing the figures in these chairs here, no problem. Practice them a couple times first on separate paper, then come in, do them on the larger paper with the full painting once you've tried these on their own first a few times, because that'll really give you a head start on incorporating everything together. So here we have the full painting. We're going to finish up here. I'm going to shift my brush from a 5 to like an 8. So this is a round watercolor brush, number 8. And we'll start working on our sky and beach, ocean. First thing I'm going to do is paper towels. I'm going to just wash up the palette a little bit. Sometimes the paints are going to get muddied up together. Let's start out with fresh paints. We've memorized what colors we're using, so we don't have to worry. We're going to use those same colors again as we do the rest of the painting. Okay. And what I might do is I'm going to go with, let me just start again with the colors we used. Ivory black, Payne's gray, burnt sienna, burnt umber, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, purple. So I get out those paints again. I'm going to change my water. Fresh clean water now, since we're doing sky and water. Okay. And also Viridian green. Okay. And a little French ultramarine too. Let's do that. let's start going in and getting some ocean colors. So I'm just going to go along here. Maybe some Viridian green in there. Maybe some darker darks. Burnt sienna. Just to get it a little darker along there. Okay. Damp brush. Damp brush with some water. And we'll just go across. We'll let the watercolor and the water do the work here. Let's do that. Let's let this just happen. We're going to make some beautiful wet on wet washes here. So I'm just kind of going along with the flow here. Have some fun with your paint and your brushes. Leave some white paper here. You can see I'm leaving some white paper. There we go. Let's do some splashing, right? Oceans, the water's moving around, it's splashing. Then we should do the same thing with our brush and our paints. Splashing kind of feels to things. Here we go. And then the closer we get to our shoreline here, we'll use more of the Viridian green. And let's leave white paper too. We don't want to. Let's leave white paper here too. And you can see I'm just having fun. I'm just moving around on the paper here with my brush. Parallel strokes going across the page like this. That's the way the ocean is. It's moving in waves coming this way. So we just capture that. And then we're going to do some cerulean blue. There's some mountains over here. Purple. I'm just using some of the colors I have on the palette. Nothing to worry about. Burnt umber, burnt sienna, same colors, burnt umber, burnt sienna, ivory black, Payne's gray, cobalt blue, cerulean blue. Some splashing, maybe a little chromium oxide there. Then a little bit of cadmium lemon yellow. That's kind of like a sunlight color, if you can add some of that in too, here and there. And also too, alizarin crimson. Let me add some of the alizarin crimson here and there on the figures. So I go back in and just touch it in a few spots. And if you add that alizarin crimson here and there, just like I'm doing now, will be okay to use it on the water, on the beach here with the sand. That's always a beautiful warm color on the beach sand. Some alizarin crimson, some cadmium yellow, yellow ochre too will work, or raw sienna, so you can add some of that in too. But if you add it into the beach here, you want to make sure we add it in everywhere else. So and I'll just make some angles with my brush strokes here, no big deal. And that might be good. I don't want to get too much details. The focal point is the figures here, so I want to make sure I kind of there's some water over here running a little bit, no big deal. We just lift it up. And now we're going to do some sky washes. But before we do the sky washes, let's a couple speckles of sand here and there. And maybe also too, just a little bit of splashing. If we do it in the foreground here, we're going to do it in the sky and everywhere else. We're using Arch's satin paper here. I forgot to mention that. So this is a smooth satin paper, very fun to paint with. The washes go on real smooth and softly. Sometimes with rough textured paper, the brushwork is a little bit, it gets to look a little more dry and scratchy looking. So I think we are really doing pretty good here. Everything looks pretty good. Okay, let's take a break and we'll finish up with the sky. So you can kind of see here we did a really minimal type washes for the ocean and the beach here. We didn't get too involved with any details, you know, really. In essence, this is our focal point, the figures on the beach chairs. And then the ocean, we're keeping it, you know, light. We're not going crazy with details on the ocean and this mountain area here. And the sky, we're going to have the same kind of idea, not too much details with the sky. We'll just do a simple sky, and I think we'll have a really beautiful painting. Okay, we'll be right back. We're just going to take a break. Hey, welcome back, and you've made it. You're right to the very last minute of this video. You're sticking in there, you're learning, you're growing. As a watercolor artist, stick in there. Keep focusing in on all of the information you can. Just keep gathering all the information as you go through our videos here. And you keep working on it, and you're going to absolutely master the techniques and the methods of watercolor. So here we're just continuing with our same techniques, our same methods. We're doing the alla prima technique, which is we're just painting step by step through the painting as we go, starting with the darks and then going to the lighter tonal values. So you can kind of see that the darkest darks are the figures in the lawn chairs. There's the most dynamic tonal value range in these figures here. So you can see that for sure, right? So that's we'll start with that, and it's the more complex. Let's start with the more challenging subject matter first, because if we're going to do this all in one day, let's say, or all one sitting, maybe you're going to do this in 2 or 3 hours or 4 or 5 hours, you'll start with your more difficult, challenging portion of your painting, the figures and the lawn chairs. Once you get those done, then the rest is kind of a little more simple. You can build out your painting, and you can keep this even more minimalistic if you want, the ocean and the mountains and the sky. But it's up to you. But the main thing is, does this make sense? Start out with your most challenging, difficult part first of your watercolor painting, and then you loosen up and have more fun as you go through the rest of the painting, because you get more tired as you go. I know myself, my concentration level drops off after about 15, 20 minutes. I start to get tired, and then I need a break. So figure out where you need to have your break times. Some of you might need less breaks, some of you might need more breaks. I'm not sure, but you figure that out on your own. You're the artist, you figure that out. But the thing is, remember, start out with your more difficult portions of your painting first with the alla prima technique, and then you just work out the rest of your painting as you go. So we're going to do that. So here I'm going to add some fresh clean water to the sky area. We're just finishing up now. We're doing the sky washes. So if we add in some of this fresh clean water into some of the sky areas, not all of it, some of it, you'll see, and I'll just here and there add some fresh water, dampen the paper a little. That'll just give it more dynamics. Your washes in your sky washes will have more dynamics if you add in some of that fresh clean water, just a little bit here and there, not everywhere, just like that, right? Then we're going to go in and we're going to say sky washes are going to be the same colors we've been using. Cobalt blue, cerulean blue, some French ultramarine blue as well, a little bit of purple. And then we can also add into our skies the blacks, ivory black and Payne's gray. We can make a little cloudy spot where there might be a little bit of cloud and some shadowy colors. So we can use some of those darker darks, the black, ivory black and Payne's gray. And then we can use some of this also too, the Viridian green. Since we used a lot of Viridian green in our painting, we'll want to add a little bit of that, a little bit of that color to the sky. Not a lot, but we want to add that in there. And then we also know we added some cadmium lemon yellow. We also used some alizarin crimson. So you just want to make sure you're repeating the same colors in your sky. Even if it's just a little, you want to add a little bit of that to your sky colors. Some yellow ochre, maybe at the bottom of the painting. Okay, so let's get started with our sky wash again. We added some of that fresh clean water here and there, just like that. Have fun with it, splash around. And then we take our blues, and you can mix around and some of that. Here, I think we can use some clouds over here. And again, go dark with your go darker with your colors in the sky, because it's going to lighten up quite a bit. And I'm just going by feel here, adding in some colors. Scrub around. Warmer colors toward this horizon line here. I think that looks good. And don't worry, if you need to blot up a little bit with the tissue, you can do that too. If you need to blot up a couple of spots, just blot it up. French ultramarine blue. Let's get some French ultramarine blue. That's the darker dark up here. I'll keep that darker up there. And that's all. And then let's just And always remember, your sky's going to lighten up a lot. So when you put on your washes on your sky, go dark with them because they're going to lighten up a lot. Always remember, your watercolor washes will lighten up half of what they look like when you put them onto the paper. So this is going to look lighter. So I go darker. This gives your, does this make sense? This is giving your sky colors dynamics. If you're adding in some darker darks up top, some ivory black, some Payne's gray, cloudy look, you know, you're going to add all these different colors just to make it more beautiful. Again, let's add in a little bit of cadmium lemon yellow, a little bit, just so that we have all of the colors we were using below in the sky above. A little bit of alizarin crimson, let's add that in there too. Don't worry about it, it's your painting. You paint the way you want to paint. You do what you want to do, it's your artwork. Always remember that. And I'm doing that little bit of cadmium lemon yellow. I should say I'm doing the yellow ochre along the horizon line here to blend that in with the and I just take that and blend it around just like that. Couple of blots here and there. And I think that is a finished painting. It's fine. Too many details sometimes will give a problem to your painting if you continue to go in and keep doing more details. So try to keep it loose. Try to keep things fresh and simple. Stop a little bit before you think you're going to need to. When you're sort of finishing up your painting, just stop, say, okay, let me give this a rest, and then you might come back the next day or two and say, yeah, it looks good the way it is, or okay, I can add in a few details here and there. You might want to do that, that's fine too, but always remember, it's better to kind of like slow down at the end of your painting and do less details, and then you can always add some in a little bit later, like a day or two later. But you might step back and look at your painting and say, I don't think it needs any more details. It looks fine the way it is. Sometimes underdoing your painting does look a little better than over finishing it. You'll hear a lot of professional watercolor artists say that stopping at the end a little bit and putting on the brakes is a little better than going too much and adding over too many details. So I hope that helps. As you finish up our painting here, as we're finishing things up here, to remember to maybe, you know, scale back a little bit, and you can always do a couple details a couple days later or the next day when everything dries 100%. But once you start adding in too many details, then it's hard to lift them out. And I'm just trying to, this here looks a little bit, let me see if I can, there we go. Sometimes a little bit of, okay. All right, well, let's lift up the tape here. I'll move my palette over here. Let's lift up the tape here. All right, there we go. Let's slide this over. Maybe we'll zoom in a little bit here. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this. This is a really fun painting. It's kind of just a more simple approach to a beach scene, a seascape scene. You have two figures in lawn chairs. That's the main portion. We took most of our time to do these two figures. Once we had those in, the rest was more or less fun. We had a good time. We just blended some colors on the page here, on the paper, and kind of filled in the rest of the scene. But the hardest work was our figures, so that's not a big deal. Have fun with this. You're the artist. Enjoy yourself. Get these figures in. If you have to practice them a few times before you go in and add it to the larger full painting, please do that. That'll help a lot too. And we'll see you on the next video. And please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe here. Right down below here on the right-hand side, you'll see the red subscribe button. You can press that button. This way, each week when we create new videos, you'll get an alert on your electronic devices, your computers, to know to come back, check it out, see what we're doing, what we're working on. We're having fun here every week doing everything watercolors. So if you want the watercolor information, the techniques, the methods, come back here each week and you'll be sure to learn everything you need to know about your watercolors. You'll be learning more each week, and your paintings are going to look a lot better as you learn more and more. Okay, so come on back, hit that subscribe button, thumbs up too if you like this video, thumbs down if you're not so happy with it, that's okay too. I understand not everyone likes these videos, but thumbs up or thumbs down is how I know if you like this type of painting, this type of subject matter, and we'll see you soon, and I hope your paintings are going absolutely incredible. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.